Hello again, everyone. As you know, I'm Robert Romano, and welcome to Chapter 11 in Global Business. This chapter will be talking about international strategic management. International strategic management, by definition, is a comprehensive, ongoing management planning process aimed at formulating and implementing strategies that enable a firm to compete effectively in the global market. Strategic management is usually the responsibility of top level executives. All right, so it's the top level executives at the corporate headquarters and senior managers who come up with the various strategic management plans that a company may have. The fundamental question when you're talking about challenges of international strategic management, I mean, there are many similarities between developing a strategy for competing in a single country and developing a strategy for competing in multiple countries. In both cases, the firm's strategic planners must answer the same fundamental questions. What products and or services does a firm intend to sell? Where and how to make them? Where and how to sell them? And where are we going to get our resources from? And then how to outperform, most importantly, how to outperform our competition. However, developing an international strategy is far more complex than developing a domestic one. Even though there's similarities, it's much more complex on the international market. Managers developing an international strategy must understand and deal with multiple governments, currencies, accounting systems, political systems, and legal systems, as well as a variety of various languages and cultures, as we have gone over in past chapters. They must also implement strategic plans among business units located in different parts of the world, as well as monitor and control strategic outcomes. But managers, so you can see, even though there are similarities, after asking your fundamental questions, there's different complexities with dealing in an international market. You're dealing with various currencies, language, cultures, all that good stuff, which add to your strategic plan. In addition, managers usually consider such complexities acceptable trade-offs for additional opportunities. Okay, so you know it's more complex, but there are also more opportunities out there. One of the opportunities is global efficiencies. International firms capture local efficiencies by operating facilities anywhere in the world that yields the lowest production or distribution cost, or that best improves the quality or service they offer their customers. Second one is multinational flexibility. The political none of these second trade-off is multinational flexibility. The political, economic, legal, and cultural environments of countries vary widely. We talked about that. These environments can change, and they can change consistently. Unlike domestic firms, which operate in and respond to changes in a single environment, international businesses may respond to a change in one country by implementing a change in another country. Third is worldwide learning. Business environments throughout the world are diverse. An international firm may respond to these environments by adjusting its operations from one country to the next. This response will contribute to the organizational learning and allow the firm to transfer knowledge to its operations in other countries. Strategic alternatives. In their attempt to obtain global efficiencies, multinational flexibility, and worldwide learning, multinational corporations typically adopt one of the following strategic alternatives: home replication, multi-domestic, global, and transnational. In the home replication strategy, a firm utilizes the core competencies or firm-specific advantage it developed at home as its main competitive weapon in the foreign marketplace that it enters. That is, it takes what it does exceptionally well in its home market and attempts to duplicate that in a foreign market. A multi-domestic corporation is a collection of relatively independent operating subsidiaries. Under the multi-domestic approach, this is particularly effective when there is a clear difference among national markets, where economics of scale for production, distribution, and marketing are low, and when the cost of coordinating between a parent corporation and its various foreign subsidies is high. In the third strategic alternative, global strategy, a corporation views the world as a single marketplace. The primary goal of this strategy is to capture economics of scale in production and marketing by concentrating its production activities in a handful of highly efficient and effective factories, and then creating global advertising and marketing campaigns to sell those goods. Since the global corporation must coordinate its worldwide production and marketing strategies, it usually concentrates power and decision-making responsibility at a central headquarters or location. The fourth strategic alternative is transnational strategy. In the transnational strategy, a corporation attempts to combine the benefits of global scale efficiencies with the benefits and advantages of local responsiveness. The corporation does not automatically centralize or decentralize authority. Rather, it carefully assigns responsibility for various organizational tasks to that unit of that organization best able to achieve the dual goals of efficiency and flexibility. As you can see in figure 111, the home replication strategy is often adopted by firms when both the pressures of global integration and the need for local responsiveness are low, and as indicated in the lower left-hand cell in figure 11.4. The domestic approach is often used when the need to respond to a local conditions is high, but the pressure for global integration are low. You see in this figure 11.1, the global strategy is most appropriate when the pressures for global integration are high, but the need for local responsiveness is low. And as you can see in the fourth block, the transnational strategy is most appropriate when pressure for global integration and local responsiveness are both high. Components of international strategy. After determining the overall international strategic philosophy, managers must address the four basic components of the strategy they develop. Those components are distinctive competencies, scope of operation, resource deployment, and synergies. All right. So distinctive competencies. What do we do exceptionally well, especially as compared to our competitors? Scope of operation. Where are we going to conduct the business? Resource deployment. Given that we are going to compete in these markets, how should we allocate our resources to them? And synergy. How can different elements of a business benefit each other? The first component of international strategy is distinctive competencies. It answers the question, what do we do exceptionally well? Okay? As we just went over. The firm's distinctive competencies must be cutting-edge technology. Must combine with efficient distribution network, superior organizational practice, or well-respected brand names. Whatever its form may take, the distinctive competence represents an important resource to the firm. Therefore, the internationalization strategy adopted by a company reflects the interplay between distinctive competences and the business opportunities available in different countries. Okay. The second component, scope of operations, answers the question, where are we going to conduct business? Scope may be defined in terms of geographical regions, such as countries, regions within a country, or clusters of countries. Or it may focus on market or product niches within one or more regions, such as the premium quality market niche, the low-cost market niche, or other specialized market niches. Resource deployment answers the question, given that we are going to compete in these markets, how should we allocate our resources? Resource deployment might be specific along product lines, geographical lines, or both. This part of the strategic planning determines determines relative priorities for a firm's limited resources. Some large multinationals deploy their resources worldwide by manufacturing goods in factories in many countries. Other firms focus their production resources deployment on within their home countries. Synergy is the fourth component of an international strategy. Synergy answers the question, how can different elements of our business benefit each other? The goal of synergy is to create a situation in which the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. In developing an international strategy, it is not a one-dimensional process. Firms generally carry out international strategic management in two broad stages. In one, strategic formulation, the firm establishes its goals and strategic plan that will lead to the achievement of these goals. In international strategy formulation, managers develop, refine, and agree on which markets to enter and/or exit, and how best to compete in each one. Much of what we discuss in the rest of this chapter and in the next two chapters concerns formulating such international strategy. The second is strategy implementation. The firm develops the tactics for achieving the formulation of international strategies. Again, we're going to go into this in more detail in chapters 14 and 15. Okay? With every strategic planning process, while every strategic planning process is unique in many ways, most managers follow some basic steps. Number 1, developing a mission statement. 2, performing a SWOT analysis. 3, setting strategic goals. 4, developing tactical goals and plans. And finally, developing a controlled framework. And you see in the section figure 11.2 breaks down the process. All right, the basic steps in developing your steps in an international strategy formulation. Okay. The mission statement. The international strategic planning process always begins with the creation of a mission statement. The mission statement clarifies the organization's purpose, values, and directions. It may specify such factors as the firm's target customers and markets, principal products or services, geographical domain, core technologies, concerns for survival, plans for growth and profitability, basic philosophies, and/or desired public image. A multinational enterprise may have multiple mission statements, one for the overall firm and one for each of its foreign subsidiaries. Of course, the firm that has multiple mission statements must ensure that they are compatible. The second step in developing a strategy is conducting a SWOT analysis. A SWOT analysis is an acronym for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. A firm typically initiates this analysis by performing an environmental scan, or in other words, a systematic collection of data about elements of the firm's external and internal environments. When a member of a planning staff scan through the external environments, they try to identify both opportunities and threats. They obtain data about economics, financial, political, legal, social, and competitive changes in the various markets the firm serves or might want to serve. In conducting a SWOT analysis, the firm's strategic managers must also assess the firm's internal environment, that is, its strengths and its weaknesses. One technique for assessing a firm's strengths and weaknesses is the value chain. This value chain was developed by Harvard business professor Michael Porter, and the value chain is a breakdown of the firm into its important activities: production, marketing, human resource, and so forth. And this enables its strategists to identify its competitive advantages and disadvantages. Okay. And as you can see in figure 11.3, it depicts each primary and support activity. Okay. The mission statement and the SWOT analysis provide a context for the next step, the setting of strategic goals. These goals are the major objectives the firm wants to accomplish through pursuing a particular course of action. By definition, these should be measurable, feasible, and time limited, answering the questions how much, how, and by when. After SWOT analysis has been performed and strategic goals set, the next step in strategic planning is to develop specific tactical goals and plans, or what we call tactics. Tactics usually involve middle managers and focus on the details of implementing the firm's strategic goals. The final aspect of strategy formulation is the development of a control framework, the set of managerial or organizational processes that keep the firm moving towards its strategic goal. This is called the control framework. The control framework can prompt revisions in any of the preceding steps in the strategy formulation process. Given the complexities of international strategic management, many international businesses find it useful to develop strategies for three distinct levels within the organization. These levels are international strategy. These levels of international strategy, as illustrated in Figure 11.4, are corporate, business, and functional. Corporate strategy attempts to define the domain of businesses in which the firm intends to operate. A firm might adopt any of the three forms of a corporate strategy. These are called single-based strategy. A related diversified strategy, and an unrelated diversified strategy. A single-based strategy calls for a firm to rely on a single business, product, or service for all of its revenue. The most significant advantage is that the firm can concentrate all its resources and expertise on the one product or service. However, the strategy also increases the firm's vulnerability to competition and changes in external environment. The second is related diversification, and this is the most common corporate strategy. Under the related diversification strategy, a firm operates in several different but fundamentally related businesses, industries, or markets at the same time. This strategy allows the firm to leverage a distinctive competence in one market in order to strengthen its competitiveness in others. A third corporate strategy is unrelated diversification, whereby a firm operates in several unrelated industries and markets. Because these operations are unrelated, there is little opportunity for synergy among such diverse operations. Business strategy focuses on specific businesses, subsidies, or operating units within the firm. It seeks to answer the question, how should we compete in each market we have chosen? Firms that pursue a corporate strategy of related diversification or unrelated diversification tend to bundle sets of business together into strategic business units, SBUs. In firms that follow the related diversification strategy, the products and services of each SBU are somewhat similar to each other. In firms that follow an unrelated diversification strategy, products and services of each SBU are dissimilar. The three basic forms of business strategy are different. Overall cost are differentiation. The three basic forms of business strategy are differentiation, overall cost, leadership, and focus. Once a firm selects a business strategy for an SBU, it typically uses that strategy in all geographic markets that the SBU serves. The SBU can use a differentiation strategy to establish and maintain the image that its products or services differ fundamentally from other products or services in the same market segment. Many international businesses usually use quality as a differentiating factor. If successful, they can charge higher prices for their products or services. Other firms adopt value as their differentiating factor. They compete by charging reasonable prices for goods and services. A firm that uses overall cost leadership strategy controls its cost controls its costs through high efficient operating procedures. Lower costs allow it to sell its goods and services for a lower price. A successful overall cost leadership strategy results in lower price per unit profitability. A focused strategy calls for a firm to target a specific type of product for certain customers. This approach allows the firm to match the features of specific products to the needs of specific consumer groups. Functional strategies address the question, how will we manage the functions of finance, marketing, operations, human resources, and R&D in ways consistent with our international corporation's business strategies. International financial strategies deal with such issues as the firm's desired capital structure, the firm's investment policies, their foreign exchange holdings, their debt policies, and their working capital. Typically, an international business develops a financial strategy for the overall firm as well as for each SBU. International operations strategy deals with the creation of the firm's products or services. It guides decisions on such issues as sourcing, plant location, plant layout, design, technology, and inventory management. International human resource strategy focuses on the people who work for an organization. International R&D strategy is concerned with the magnitude and direction of the firm's investment in creating new products and developing new technologies. And that's pretty much it. The next steps in formulating international strategy will determine which foreign markets to enter and which to avoid. These topics, again, will be covered as we go deeper into the textbook, especially in Chapter 12 and 13. That's just a brief overview of Chapter 11. Please, if you have any questions or concerns, contact me. I'll be more than happy to help. If not, stay tuned for a video concerning Chapter 12. Thank you.